Hi, I'm Josh, and I work for a company called B Broadcast. We help the co-op with TV and radio interviews. Thank you for signing up for broadcast interviews. I just wanted to give you a little bit of information and some detail to help you prepare. Now, the story that media are looking at is research from the co-op, which shows essentially that community spirit across the country and in your area has decreased since the pandemic. And we're looking at how we bring it back. It kind of makes sense. We all had a shared enemy at that point in COVID. We all had to band together. And when the threat of that has dissipated, we've kind of gone back to the way that we were before. Now, as a member pioneer, you have a really important voice on this, and we're hoping that we can set up a situation where people will reach out to you, and we want media to support and celebrate what you're doing. So, what might they ask you? We think that this will focus in on the things that you're most proud of. We obviously got that information from you in the survey, and we've shared that with media. So, the things you're most proud of, what you do on a day-to-day basis. So obviously split across the week. What do you do? How do you engage with people? And why do you do it? So what is it that kind of spurred you on to taking up this role? Why do you want to be part of the community in that sense? And then finally, I think it will be there will be questions in there about your views on the local community. What are the great things? What are the challenges? And I don't think there are necessarily any areas that we would go down into this route. But what are the challenges that people will face that will perhaps be made worse by the cost of living crisis? Now, you'll probably be aware that our core community missions are about access to food, access to mental well-being support, and opportunities for young people in the areas. And that might help in terms of forming what the potential challenges might be and how we're working as a collective to tackle those. We also think that there could be a question in here about the importance of community. Why does it matter? Why can't we just go about our daily basis and essentially ignore each other? Now, if it helps, our data shows that when people aren't connected to their community, they feel a sense of isolation. And in challenging times like the pandemic and like the cost of living crisis that we face, this, as we know, can have devastating consequences. And so when somebody does join up, does connect to their community, it can have very positive consequences. They start to make friends, connections that they didn't have previously, and generally feel better overall. Now, we want people to be able to get in touch with you. So maybe think about that. How can they reach out to you? How can they work with you? How can they share the challenges that they're facing, the issues that they want to get solved? There is a good chance that the people that are listening probably won't know about this scheme up until this point. So this is a really good pitch moment for you to be able to pitch the work that you do. We also want others to be able to sign up and become member pioneers across the country. So perhaps think and highlight some of the ways in which this might be a perfect position for somebody else to take up. Now, in some of the interviews, you'll be with Rebecca Birkbeck. Now, Rebecca is the Director of Communities at the Co-op, and she will be connecting up via the Zoom link that we've shared. And there's nothing necessarily to think about or change in terms of the way that you approach this, but the presenter will essentially have a joint interview and guide questions to each of you. But I will let you know ahead of time if that's the case. You are there to tell your story, to talk about your area, to highlight why it's a great place and why, even if community spirit has dipped since the pandemic, actually, there is a significant community there. We don't really anticipate any tough questions, but I think it's always best in a situation like this to avoid difficult areas like politics, all of the things that we never want to talk about, or things like statements on what the company is doing as a whole. Those things can sometimes make an interview a bit harder. So I would stick to the things that you do, the things that you're proud of, the community as a whole, and almost how you want people to band together and make things better. Often we get asked in these situations, what shall I wear? Where shall I be? What kind of stuff do I need? And I think the key thing is you want to be as comfortable as possible. If you have co-op branded clothing, great. If you don't worry. It's about being as comfortable as possible. So wear something, try to avoid things that are stripy, as that can sometimes look a bit odd on screen, but wear something similar, perhaps similar to this, that maybe one color and nice and straightforward, but be comfortable in your own right. In terms of the location, a lot of this will be done via Zoom, where you can actually blur your background like I have here, but try to find an area or a space that isn't too busy. So my wall here, probably not a great example, but something that is relatively kind of clean cut, straightforward. In terms of technology, most phones and laptop microphone and audio tech is good enough for interview quality now. Similarly, if you were to hold the phone to your ear in Zoom interviews, that would be more than adequate. You don't need to invest in anything, but if you also have headphones or anything like that, then those absolutely work too. Now, I think I mentioned this, but in terms of how it will all come together, we'll issue you with one Zoom link on the day where you will join. Now, I'll be in that Zoom link. Some of that, Rebecca will be with us, but I'll be looking after you on the day. So you should hopefully have my details. My phone number is 07500 845 970. So if you want to text me or email me or give me a ring, you're more than welcome to if you've got any questions. But the reality is this is a moment just to celebrate your area and the work that you do.